buy that for $1.
Thank you for joining me for what is sure to be yet another fanboy mental meltdown hate-filled evening. Today we're going to be looking at the price of Final Fantasy Dissidia NT, which we will now be referring to as Dissidia NT from now on. Now, the prices I'm comparing on this are for PlayStation, and while yes, the games I'm comparing might also come out of other consoles, this is specifically looking at PlayStation prices, which are 99% of the time the same anyhow. Okay, so first off, before talking about even the price of the game, let's discuss the honey boo boo in the room, Square Enix. A company that almost makes you wish some of their earlier games were actually final. Now, I myself used to be a huge Square fanboy. It seemed like for a while, especially up until 2010, the company could do no bad. Unfortunately, it's been pretty hard downward spiral lately, which seems to be like the planned trend after Square Enix announced to their investors this year that they plan to move ahead with gaming as a service as their mainstream. Now, with that being said, I'm extremely terrified of this new game and what they plan to charge us extra for. So far, it seems they're charging for costumes, weapons, and characters. Now, so long as these weapons and costume items don't increase stats or have different movesets, I could really care less. Now that is completely out of the way, we can get into the upfront price. So the price of Dissidia NT upfront regular game is $60. Which is pretty standard fee at this age. If you pre-order, you can get 1 out of 3 random steelbook cases, and if you order it from GameStop specifically, you even get a weapon for one of the warriors. That's still just $60 standard game. So just the game, your steelbook, and the DLC weapon item. Now, as with many games today, there's a collector's edition for this item, which is where our main subject comes into play. Dissidia NT Ultimate Collector's Edition is $190. That's right, $190. More than the price of buying this game 3 fucking times. More than the cost you can pay for some of the freaking consoles it releases on. What makes it worth that much? Well, let's see. And more importantly, let's see if there's anything that makes it worth that price. First off, let's look at what comes with the package. We have the collector's box, which features silhouettes of the characters in the game. Comparing that to the other 2 big collector's editions coming out soon, Monster Hunter Worlds and Dragon Ball FighterZ, sure, that's quite a bit cooler than a black box, which they're both offering. But I wouldn't say it's $40+ more impressive though. Shit, buy me a box of crowns and I'll give you a more impressive box than any of them. Next on the list is an 8-inch bust of the Warrior of Light. Now, granted, this is bigger than the monster's silly 5-inch figure and Goku's 7-inch figure, but take another look at the statue. 3 inches are practically empty as space, and it's just the Warrior of Light. Is anyone's favorite warrior the Warrior of Light? Anyone's? Not to mention GameStop's pre-order of Dragon Ball FighterZ, you get an extra 3-inch statue. Sadly, also Goku. But still. Next up, we have the hardcover artbook. It looks pretty enough, and it's standard for collector's sets. I wouldn't pay the price of another game plus, so let's just move on. Now we have the soundtrack. Final Fantasy games have been pretty well known for having some of the most amazing music in their games. Seriously, they do an amazing job, and even though the other 2 games in comparison both have CDs with them as well, most likely this one will blow those others out of the water. But no one's paying over $60 for a soundtrack with 15 tracks, especially when they don't include all the music in the game, and especially when so many other games are providing their soundtracks included with the game for free. Next we have the game disc, which seems pretty standard, though the way they put the word game disc and not standard edition game makes me believe that we won't get the regular case included. Seriously, Square? For over 3 times the price you couldn't even spare some extra plastic? What, was it all used to make the horns of the Warrior of Light? This is merely speculation on what is listed in the product's details, so maybe they'll surprise us. After that, we have the exclusive steel case book for the collector's edition. Now, seriously, just look at this. What the actual fuck? Pay over 3 times as much and get a worse case than the people who spent the actual game's price? Are you freaking kidding me? Who is in charge of this? Let's just continue to ignore Square's clear favorite and go on to the last and scariest item on this list. Now here's where we get to move on to that kind of scary gas territory. Having a season pass for this game is absolutely an abomination. The game first launched in 2015 on arcades, and when it did, Square told fans give it a year and we'll port it to the PS4. So 3 years later, we're finally getting the port. Whatever. It takes Square over 20 years to make an incomplete game, so it's pretty much par for the course at this point. But when you plan to break it up and charge people more for the rest of the game? Why? Why the hell? Why would you do this? Seriously, it's a travesty. The only thing I can say about it is if the season pass, which is said to hold 6 new playable characters, contains any of the advertised characters and of the arcade characters themselves, or the characters on the fucking box, like other fighting games such as Marvel vs. Capcom or Mortal Kombat, I will be canceling my pre-order, guaranteed. I plan to keep an eye out for reviewers to preview it before launch, so I can make sure the character roster. I would advise everyone else to do the same, but everyone's their own person. Now, I guess I should mention that the Season Pass also has 2 costumes and weapons for each character, but seriously, who fucking cares? I will also mention that Dragon Ball FighterZ is doing a Season Pass as well, and I say straight fuck them for that as well. It's the reason I decided against getting the Collector's Edition, mostly because I didn't even include the Season Pass in it. And if you want to compare prices on that, basically Dragon Ball FighterZ's Season Pass is $35, making the actual game worth $95, the Collector's Edition worth $175. Still not on the same level as Dissidia NT's $190, but seriously, fuck them both. Forget the Season Pass garbage and the Collector's Editions with prices they're pulling out of their gas. Seriously, I advise no one to buy these. Guaranteed you keep throwing money at them and they'll just keep jacking the prices up until you can't anymore. So clearly my verdict is absolutely not worth it at all. Square Enix as it currently isn't even worth an ounce of respect. If you absolutely have to have the Collector's Edition though, a little piece of advice, go get the much cooler Steelbook at GameStop and then purchase the Collector's Edition a year later. Square is known for charging ridiculous prices on their Collector's Edition, and then they aren't even as much as the game at launch, less than a year later, brand new. Now, I'm sure most people are already pounding on their keyboard in the comments section and smashing that dislike button, but either way, I hope this video was helpful in helping you to make your now more educated decision. And most importantly, everyone, don't forget to take care of yourselves.